There's almost no way to manage DSOs, tax debt, or secured debt through any third party like a credit counselor. Credit is not set up to deal with such debts, and anything you try outside of bankruptcy is got a chance of being a fraud scheme. Debts for vehicles. If you have a payment for a vehicle, whether it's a lease or purchase, put the payment in your budget, unless you're just a co-signer and are not going to make that payment. If you don't want the vehicle, don't put the payment in the budget. Put the monthly payment for car insurance in your budget, so you can divide a 6-month premium by 6 for your monthly payment. You must have full coverage, not just liability if you have a financed vehicle. List the loan or the lease on your creditor list. Remember, credit counseling won't help you with vehicles. If you're a co-signer, check the box for co-signer and list the co-signers, the other signer's name and address. If you have a loan with a credit union and have other debts, like a credit card, list these under the vehicle loan as separate debts, but check that they are secured debts. They usually are. So if you have a credit card and a car loan with the credit union, both of those are secured debts. List the date that you bought the vehicle in the box provided on the form we gave you. If you don't want the vehicle, mark it surrender. If you do want it, mark it reaffirm. If you're behind, mark the behind box and put in the last paid date, the date you paid it last on time. If your vehicle's been repossessed recently and sold, Chapter 13 filing may return the vehicle to you. You can get the vehicle back yourself by paying the past due and repo charges. No private service can force the return of a vehicle, and most will not negotiate a lower payment. Chapter 13 is used for that. If you have a repossession deficiency after a vehicle has been sold, list that on the unsecured portion of your debt list. Vehicle payments can only be affected by Chapter 13 or passed through as before under Chapter 7, keeping the vehicle with a reaffirmation agreement if the creditor wishes you to keep it in Chapter 7. Most do unless you have a bad payment record or no insurance. No private service credit counselor or phony debt settlement scheme will deal with vehicle payment problems. That's a matter for your bankruptcy attorney. In Chapter 13, you may be able to pay all your debts with the same or a couple hundred more than your current vehicle payment. Let's talk about loans for personal property. Purchases of furniture, toys, big boys' toys, boats, trailers, rent-to-own, appliances, or other hard goods are debts that you must pay or modify in a Chapter 13 or negotiate a reaffirmation or surrender. Those are secured debts. List such debts in the personal property loan section on your creditor list and put a payment for each debt in your budget. Loans for money with a security interest in personal property are next. Non-purchase money security interest loans. These loans were not for the actual purpose, but are usually for cash, putting up property as collateral. They used to be common, but now few creditors make such loans. If you have one, and you did not make the loan to buy the goods, or if you gave a list of household goods to get the loan, list it on this form. Only Chapter 7 or 13 can eliminate or modify this type of debt. Cosign loans. You may have cosigned for someone or they may have cosigned for you. List all such loans in the cosigner section of the creditor list if you haven't done it already in the secured portion. If you are paying the loan, put the payment in your budget if you haven't done so already. To pay or not to pay? That's the question. If you're in a default on a cosigned loan, the creditor can go after either cosigner. Your default is their credit. So you will want to pay such loans to protect your cosigner unless they file a bankruptcy or unless you don't want to protect your cosigner. However, if you cosign for someone else's loan and they default, you're on the hook. and you'll have to deal with the creditor because of the other person's default. So this is something to discuss with your bankruptcy attorney. Private services can't help you with that. 7. Unsecured debts and medical bills. Most credit cards, cash advances, payday loan places, NSF fees, parking and tolls, criminal fines and restitution, repossession deficiencies, eviction deficiencies. These are the most common unsecured debt. And they don't report to credit bureaus in a lot of cases. And many sell their debts to third parties. So you're going to have to work on this part of the list later. And you're going to list them on your unsecured debt list with the address that is on the last 2 communications you received. If a collector is involved, you list both the original collector, such as, for instance, a fictional hospital, Glen Lake Hospital, 300 Jones Boulevard, but then you list the collector. Glen Lake Hospital, care of Acme Collection, 1 North LaSalle. That way you don't duplicate the debt, but you know there is a collector involved.